What is up, guys? I am Crimson Thunder here. Welcome to this Let's Play of Sentinels of the Multiverse, the video game. As I said again, I am Crimson Thunder here to take on this journey together as my very first Let's Play. So let's go on to it. Sentinels of the Multiverse is a card game based off of superheroes and these cheap knockoffs, and the objective is to work together to defeat the villain in the ways possible. First, we have this villain called Baron Blade, which is very similar to Lex Luthor and his nemesis. So I'll explain how it goes later. We go with one villain for here, 3 to 5 heroes and his environments. We'll bring on three of here. We got Legacy, which is power similar to Superman. Bring on the Wraith, which is similar to Batman. And we'll take along Raw, which is similar to Thor. And our environment will be this Mouse. I'll explain more into details as we go along. So we got 3 heroes, 1 villain, and 1 environment. Let's get this battle going. At the beginning of every game, we have this little cutscene. At last, the destruction of my greatest foe is at hand. Legacy shall fall. Stand down, Baron. The place of your hatred should not be the entire planet. So, at the beginning of the game, everyone starts with 4 cards. And each have a set number of hit points. And at the beginning of the game, you set up so you follow the setup settings, which is done automatically. So at the start of the game, Baron Blade enters the playing Terular Impulsion Beam Inventor side up, which is this side, and 1 mobile defense platform is put into play and the deck is shuffled. So here's a mobile defense platform, here's a target, and as long as it's in play, Baron Blade's immune to damage. And at the beginning of the game, I'll explain this in a second. So basically, the way the game works is the villain always goes first, and they have a play phase, a start of turn phase, a play phase, and the end of turn. At the start of the turn, any effects that occur at the start of the turn will trigger. So in this case, at the start of the villain turn, if there are 15 or more cards in the villain trash, which is the discard pile in this case, then Baron Blade's Impulsion Beam activates, pulling the moon to the earth. Game over. Whenever Baron Blade will be destroyed, his villain's character will be flipped to the eventual mad scientist side instead, which I'll explain later. So, and then once all those effects activate, then we have to play a card, which he plays the top card of the deck. So, and this particular card happens to be the Power Remote Turret. And here, at the end of the villain turn, this card deals each hero target 2 projectile damage. It increased its damage by 1 for every mobile defense platform in play. So in this case, everybody's going to be dealt 2 plus 1 projectile damage, plus 1 for legacies since they're nemesis. Whenever a villain and a hero share the same icon, they have a nemesis, and when this occurs, they deal plus 1 damage to each other during damage calculation. So, and here you can choose which order you want to do it, but if you do, in some cases this will be useful, but in most other cases it's not. If that's not the case, or it is the case in this, it doesn't matter. You can just choose for me. 3 damage. Oh, by the way, I lied about the nemesis damage. It only has to come from Baron Blade itself. So, then the villain, the hero closest to the villain, goes next. we have the 3 phases this is played out is play, power, and draw. So in the play phase, you get to play 1 card unless other effects say otherwise. So in every one of these cards, you have to consider carefully. So we have nothing in the trash, and remember that he's immune to damage as long as this is on play. So just to go through some of these cards, every hero's deck is different, and there's no trading or anything at all. So we have 1 card that allows every player to draw 1 card, which is a 1-shot, which once it's used, it goes to the trash immediately afterward. And there's ongoings, which stays on the field until it's destroyed or otherwise removed. Limited, which means you can only have 1 on the field at a time. And in some ways, there's equipment cards, which is the same as ongoing, which treats the same way as ongoings, but they're not treated as the same. There's some cards that destroys ongoing, some that destroys equipment. Ongoings, it just depends on which one it is. So in this case, Legacy has a tendency to want to be able to support his team damage-wise. So and once the game goes on, he'll jump into the fray. So in this case, we're gonna start off with an inspiring presence. You can play cards 1 or 2 ways. You can either do what I did, or you can just click and drag one of the cards up in the field. Now, when this card comes into play, every hero regains 1 HP, and then this permanently increases the damage dealt by heroes by 1 as long as this is on the field. And once you play a card, you go into your power phase. Now, some cards do offer others to be using powers, like this one, but every single hero card has its own power. Here, for example, is Galvanized. Once you activate it, just follow the instructions. In this particular case, until the start of your next turn, increases all damage dealt by hero targets by 1. So we're going to go ahead and do this. You can also do it this way as well. So instead of a +1, it's a +2. And after you play your power phase, you get to draw a card. And then that's the end. And then any end of turn effects activate, and then that's it. Now the Wraith, she happens to rely on a lot of equipment cards for the most part for her damage. Unfortunately, in this particular case, it's really difficult, so we're gonna play something different instead. Here we have a card that destroys all of her equipment cards. This is her kill shot, basically. It deals X projectile damage, where X is 2 times the number of cards destroyed this way. You want to make sure you use this wisely. So in this case, there's really not too many good options here. So what I'll do is play this Trust Fund. What this does is you'll draw 4 cards and you'll discard 2. Stun Bolt and Equipment. Another Trust Fund. Micro-targeting computer. Inventory barrage. And now must discard 2. Now, you're never going to be using more than 1 inventory barrage at a time. So we can get rid of 1 because you absolutely don't need it. And since it's gonna be a while, I'm just gonna discard the other one, because I really don't need it at all. And don't worry, if your deck ever runs out of cards, all you just simply do is shuffle the trash into your deck and just draw again for the number of times necessary. And since there's nothing else I could really can do, her power is Stealth. I reduced the damage. The next damage that she would be take by 2, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. So the next time she deals damage, she's dealt damage, that damage is reduced by 2. And draw, we got to make a computer. I'll explain the environment later. And here's my favorite character of them all, Ra. Now this guy is pretty much nothing but damage. So we got card that puts the top 3 cards up from the environment trash on the bottom and then draw that many cards. There's one that makes him immune to fire damage, and here's a card that offers a power. Hero targets are immune to fire damage until the start of your next turn. Here's another one. When this card enters play, Rod deals 1 target 2 fire damage. And power, Rod deals 1 target 1 fire damage, and if you do so, and you can draw a card. And this other one is that Ra deals each non-hero target X fire damage, where X is the number of environment cards in play. So here, we want to start burning down those mobile defense platforms so we can start getting a Baron Blade. So we're going to play this. And as I said, and I'm going to deal 4 damage right off the bat. Now in a powers phase, I can do this one or 2 ways. I can either deal 1 target 2 fire damage, or I can deal 1 target 1 fire damage, and I can draw a card. Since this is both buffs, since this is also buffed by Legacy with the Inspiring Presence and the Galvanize, and since I do need the cards, I'm just gonna go ahead and use this. Sometimes I use Fire if there's really nothing else to do, but because I need cards, I'm just gonna use this instead. Wrathful Gaze, destroy 1 target with 2 or fewer HP. Not always useful in some cases. And you got Soul Player. You always got this one. You have to be careful about using sometimes. I'll explain in a little bit. And at the end of all that, we have the environment turn. River of Lava. At the end of, so I hit the play phase. So at the end of the environment turn, each hero may destroy 1 of their equipment cards. Deal any hero that does not 3 fire damage. At the start of the environment turn, if each player discards the top 3 cards of their deck, destroy it. Since we don't have any equipment now, we're all taking 3 fire damage. -2 on Wraith because of her stealth. And then it just starts cycling over again. Now we got a Blade Battalion and a minion. At the end of the environment turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest HP X melee damage, where X is the number of HP on this card. Now with the environment, it's pretty much works the same as the villain, except that it doesn't usually become biased towards either the heroes or the villains, depending on which one it is. Insular Malice is kind of neutral for the most part. We do have some, like here, the stuff that deals non-environment targets, so this can attack heroes and it can attack villains depending on what it is. That's what really makes it fun. So they play the battalion. So at the end of the turn, the remote is going to start hitting everybody for 3, and then the Blade Battalion smacked Legacy for 5. And since the start of his turn ends up occurring, all the hit damage is back to normal off of him. Okay. So let's go ahead, and I don't need any cards, so let's put the superhuman durability out there, because he does have a tendency to take some large amount of damage at sometimes. So this can be helpful. It doesn't always help all the time, but if there's ever instances where he's going to be dealt lots of damage, this is pretty useful. And once again, I'm just going to increase damage to him. Takedown's very useful sometimes. All villain targets cannot be played as long as it's on here. At the end of your turn, the villain target with the highest HP deals Legacy 2 energy damage, and at the start of your turn, destroy the card. Pretty damn useful. Alright, so there's not a lot of great things I can do with Wraith so far. I'll just go ahead and get her set up. I'll just use Stunbolt for now and hit this power remote turret. What this does is that Wraith deals 1 projectile damage to 1 target, and until the start of her next turn, reduce all damage dealt by that by 1. So I hit the remote for 3 damage, and the it basically nullified the increased damage. So it's reduced by 1. Draw. Suit yourself. Simply makes her regain 3 HP. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and now play the Scorched Earth and deal everything 3 damage. In this particular case, order does matter because as soon as this goes, I can start dealing Baron Blade some damage. So I'm gonna get rid of this. So now the Baron Blade's gonna start taking damage from everything else. So the rest don't matter. And Living Conflagration. This is also useful if you don't want to really overkill some stuff too. So just gonna go ahead and get rid of this Blade Battalion because it's annoying. Sorry about that, I had a little crash, but on the fraps. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and discard the top 3 cards of the deck to get rid of this. And the Velociraptor pack. And it's going to go ahead and attack the environment target with the lowest HP, which was that power remote turret, so that's gone. Elemental Redistributor. Whenever Baron Bay would be dealt fire, hold or lightning damage, redirect that target to the hero with the lowest HP. And that's gonna be bad for Ra. But don't worry, it's not that itself, it's for Baron Blade. I'm gonna go ahead and take down, and then I'm gonna Galvanize to stop him from playing. Flying Smash will be useful. A few damage. I'm gonna go ahead and use the micro-targeting computer. And now, what the micro-targeting computer does, it increases projectile damage dealt by Wraith by 5. Go ahead and tag the Elemental Distributor just to do some damage. This is definitely Wraith's best card. Now, there's not a lot of great things that's gonna happen here, so I'm going ahead and use Flame Barrier. And since I need to get rid of that distributor, I'm going to go ahead and use Pyre, even though it didn't do anything. This will make everything fire damage, so I don't want to use that yet because of this elemental distributor. City and Field. This increases all damage by 1, so... And at the end of the turn, one player may discard 2 cards to destroy this card. I typically don't always like just leave this out, but I may want to destroy it if it just starts becoming a problem, which most of the time it's not. The Raptors are going to kill the Velociraptor. Takedown prevents him from playing any cards, so he basically is forced to skip his turn. Takedown is destroyed at the start of the turn. Since there's not a ton of great things to do for Legacy, I'm going to go ahead and use the Bolster Allies. This allows everybody to draw 1 card, even himself. I'm going to continue to keep buffing the team. And I'm not going to discard. Now, this is going to be really fun. So, once I play this, I draw 1 card. Utility Belt, which I was actually going to be fishing for, but I guess I'm going to find something else. What this will do is that this will actually allow Wraith to use an additional power during a power phase. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a card that's going to create another power. And since I want to be able to do as much damage as I can, I'm going to go ahead and use Razor Ordnance. This will deal target 3 projectile damage, so I'm going to go ahead and put that into play. And I'm going to play another card. So I'm going to put this utility belt out. So now, Wraith is going to be able to do 2 powers in this turn. So I'm going to use the Razor Ordnance. That's going to do a whopping 8 damage. And Stumble to do another 6 damage. And prevent Baron Blade from... Actually reduce the damage dealt by Baron Blade by 1. I'm gonna leave that as it is. Now here I'm going to go ahead and use the solar flare, trying to get Baron Blade as low as possible. So I'm gonna actually tag Baron Blade here for 7. And the Staff of Ra, one of my great ones. Now for here, you want to be very, very careful about taking damage for this. In this particular case, unless you got Flesh to the Sun God here, you never ever take the damage while this is on the field, because this can cause friendly fire as well. So I'm going to go ahead now, and this will be destroyed. Now, whenever there's a tie for the which one's the lowest, you can go ahead and have somebody pick which one you want. In this case, this one's an obvious choice. I'll hit Baron Blade, take 10 damage. That's a clever girl. There's Baron Blade. The Blade Battalion. He's gonna hit Roth at 6, and then he's gonna retaliate, which will kill the Blade Battalion, which is one thing I really like about that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do a back fist strike. This will hit Baron Blade, and as I said in the earlier, when he's destroyed, he flips to his other side, the Vengeful Mad Scientist instead, which I'll explain in a second. He gets +1 for the Nemesis, 1 for the Aspiring Presence, and 1 for the Obsidian Field. Now he flips. So when he's flipped to this side, Baron Blade's maximum HP is 30, and he's restored to 30. Villain Trash is placed on top of the villain deck, and then all 3 copies of this Multiple Defense platform move to the Villain Trash, and it's shuffled. At the end of the villain turn, Baron Blade deals the hero target with the highest HP 3 energy damage. So now here we no longer have to worry about this part. So all we got to do now is just beat the crap out of him until he's at 0. So all the villain trash shuffled, and there's all 3 mobile defense platforms. Surge of Strength. This will allow Legacy to gain to increase his damage by 1. I am not going to do that. Now I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to Throat Jab. What this will do is increases his damage. This will sorry. This will hit Baron Blade for 2 plus 3, which is 5, and then target dealt damage this way cannot deal damage until the start of his next turn. So this will hit him for 5, and he cannot deal damage until the start of Ray's next turn. Power Phase, I'm going to start wailing the crap out of Baron Blade for 8. Wow, I think I'm going to be able to finish him off in this one round. I'm going to keep the Obsidian Field out. I'm going to go ahead and play the Staff of Ra. When this comes out, Ra gains 3 HP. This is one of the only cards in Ra's deck that will allow him to heal. And this increases his damage by Ra, as if it doesn't do so enough already. And the power, this card will deal 3 projectile damage to a target and then destroy this card. Since I want to deal as much damage as I can, I'm just going to throw this at him. It's going to do like 7 damage. And destroy itself. There's plenty of them in the deck, so don't be afraid to use it as necessary. Now the environment deck does the Prime Model Plant Life. When this enters play, each hero may destroy one of their ongoing cards. Deal any hero that destroys an ongoing this way 2 toxic damage. Deal any hero that does not 4 toxic damage. At the end of the environment turn, destroy this card. I'm going to go ahead and skip here because since we've already won the game right here, we're just gonna it doesn't matter since he took. And then the Velociraptor is just going to maul Baron Blade, and that's the game. So it's a really fun game. It's not too complicated to learn. All the next stuff I start doing here from now on, I'm just going to give you some strategies how to do so, and I'll get to advanced, challenge, and ultimate modes as I come along. So, till next time, I am Crimson Thunder signing off.